Fantastic. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Matthew Bremen. I'm the Global Director for the GYEO 2030 initiative. GYEO stands for Youth Economic Opportunity. We at Making Sense are excited to have Helvetas today, who will be leading this session. They are a leader in international development. Their areas of technical expertise include both youth and skills, jobs, and income. This is the fourth of 5 lead solution sessions, and we have associated sessions as well. Just to provide you, for next slide, please, to provide you a bit of context for these solution sessions. Since 2007, Making Sense has been convening global youth economic opportunities summits to share learning, develop partnerships, advance economic opportunities for young people. And the inequities that COVID and social justice movements have exposed have increased the need to accelerate change, particularly for young people. It's become a turning point for the GYEO Summit agenda. So we're transforming our approach to fully include young people alongside adults in our activities to ensure youth are co-designing solutions to their own problems and not just serving as window dressing on panels and so forth. So in addition, we're going to be expanding the dialogue beyond Washington, D.C., such as here. We seek to host or support convenings around the world that are going to engage young people and adults locally to discuss solutions to SDG 8 in particular that are relevant in their context. During 21-22 now, we're doing this through a series of events that you see on this slide: youth dialogues, solution sessions or webinars on key topics of interest to young people, and convenings, regional, global, comprising a series of near-term activities designed to share the latest GYEO program lessons and gain commitment from actors globally to advance good practices within a common language and framework of the SDGs, specifically achievement of SDG 8. For those who are unfamiliar, that's to promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. So we also plan to establish global convenings as annual touch points to track progress toward achievement of SDG 8. So if you go to the next slide, I want to thank our partners for the financial and in-kind contributions as we embark on this exciting new initiative. I specifically want to recognize Palladium, which is our global session partner, along with FHI 360 and CRS, who are regional session partners. And certainly Helvetas is a fantastic partner on this, as we will see today. I also want to acknowledge our first 2 local partners, Africa Skills Hub out of Ghana and the Latin American Leadership Academy out of Colombia. There are organizations joining every day, so please let us know if you're interested in committing to GYEO 2030. So today we're excited to hear about the positive role career guidance and pay-for-performance training mechanisms can have on youth economic opportunity. And without further ado, I would like to welcome Katarina Walker, who will moderate today's session. Over to you, Katarina.
Thank you, Matthew. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. On behalf of Helvetas and our partners, I would very much like to welcome you to today's session. I'm Katarina, and I work as a senior advisor for skills development in Helvetas. Helvetas is one of the biggest NGOs in development cooperation in Switzerland, and we work in around 30 countries worldwide, and we have around 1,600 people as staff members. And in Switzerland, actually, we have more than 100,000 people as members. We implement projects on behalf of bilateral and multilateral agencies, on behalf of companies, on behalf of foundations. And as Matthew said, enabling young people to get the right skills and equipping them also in view of career choices is one of our thematic strengths. So very much excited to share today with you our experiences from the Western Balkans and to exchange with you on how to best prepare young people for the labor market. Next slide, please. So our agenda today, so we are going to zoom in into 2 countries, Albania and North Macedonia. There we present our experiences from 2 projects of the Swiss Agency for Development Cooperation, SDC, the RISI Albania project and Education for Employment in North Macedonia. And we are supported by Reconomy, which is an inclusive green economic development program of SIDA. So we have 2 slots, first Albania, then North Macedonia. And I want to highlight that we get insights from an entrepreneur and from a government representative. And then we continue the discussion or the session with a panel discussion with all speakers. And at the end, my colleague Emilia, she will share her key insights. Yes, and to the audience, please use the chat. You can raise all your questions, all your comments directly in the chat. And then during the Q&A session, my colleague Sabine will take them up. Next slide, please. I now invite all my colleagues, the speakers and the moderators to briefly present themselves, to tell us who they are, for which organization they work, and from where they're joining, and what makes them passionate about bringing young people into employment. So let us start with Mladen on the left corner. Please, Mladen, over to you.
Hi to everyone. Mine is presented me, Katerina. I am Mladen Frčkovski from Ministry of Labor and Social Policy. Many years I work on the problematic of the unemployment, especially youth unemployment. I was the coordinator for the first national election plan tackling youth unemployment 2012-2015, as well as the second national election plan 2016-2020. I was the coordinator of and I'm still coordinator of the Youth Guarantee Scheme in Macedonia, and or coordinator for the Operation Plan for Active Labor Market Measures and Services on the Labor Market. So I'm very glad that you invite me to present a successful model that E4E project present and implemented before 2 years, and I hope we will have a very fruitful discussion with all of you. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mladen. Thank you for joining. And I hand over to Ori.
Hello,
from
everyone.
betaPlan.
Thank you, Katrina. It's a pleasure to be here today. As mentioned, I'm Ori Hoja, founder of betaPlan coding bootcamps in Albania, but calling in today from Boston. I deeply believe that societies make headway through increased productivity coming from diffusion of knowledge. So youth employment can be a direct measure of such a trend, and that is why I've dedicated my efforts to this issue, and I'll expand on that soon. Thank you.
Great to have you with us, Ori. Thank you. Nadire, over to you, please.
So hello, everyone. I am Nadire Selimi from North Macedonia. I work for Helvetas, and currently I'm engaged as a monitoring and results measurement specialist at the Education for Employment in North Macedonia project. So related to your question, why I am passionate about the youth in general and youth unemployment in particular, it's because it's completely aligned with my personal life mission, which is to give help where there is need and especially give opportunities when there is potential. And I think we have a lot of potential here in the Western Balkans.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nadire, for these inspiring words. Thank you. Ermira, I hand over to you. You are, please unmute yourself.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today and to share our experience. I'm Ermira Shuti from RISI Albania Youth Employment Project in Albania. I work as a team leader for career guidance skill development component, and working for more than 8 years for and with young people and make sound endeavors for their benefits is has very positively affect me in this work, and has made me a patient for to work strongly for the future.
Excellent. Thank you, Ermira. Thanks for having us today. And then I invite Emilia as a co-moderator, please.
Thank you, Katerina. Hello, everybody. My name is Emilia, and I work as a knowledge management and learning manager for Economy, which is a regional program implemented by Helvetas. I'm based in Skopje, North Macedonia. And as a long-time skills and youth development practitioner, I've always been intrigued to understand how the changing youth aspirations move towards the world of work and how we, as development practitioners, can support these aspirations and improve the economic opportunities for youth.
Great, thank you, Emilia. And the last person from our side is Sabine, please.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm communication manager at Reconomy, which is a regional program implemented by Helvetas, Emilia's colleague. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabine. So now actually we are very curious to hear from you, from the audience, from where you are joining. That gives us a bit of a picture. And for that purpose, we've prepared a short poll, so it should pop up already now, yes. So please choose the continent from where you're joining. So we see, not surprisingly, many people joining from Europe, but of course also many from North America. And yeah, it's great to have also an audience from Africa and Asia. Let's just wait a few more seconds for those who haven't had the chance to click yet. So we have around 60% of people joining from Europe, and then followed by North America and Africa and Asia. Good. I think we can move to the second question that we want to get your answers from, and that is actually whether you have ever been to the Western Balkans, the region that our live session is focusing on. Yes, so we have, not surprisingly, again, I would say people who live in the Western Balkans and a few who have worked in the region, and also some who have visited the region for a vacation, which I can highly recommend. There are beautiful countries to visit. And yeah, around 29% as of now who haven't been to the Western Balkans. So I think almost everybody did vote. So that gives us a good picture. Again, thank you for voting. So we have many people from the region or who have been there and have worked there, but not everybody. Could you see, excuse me, could you see the results?
Yes, we could.
Yes, yes.
Yes, okay, very good. So then I move on, and that would mean we go to the next slide to very briefly present the topic challenge of our session. Before then, the colleagues will more share their forward-looking solutions. So youth, or let's start it differently, SDG 8 aims, amongst others, to achieve full and productive employment and decent work for all. And youth unemployment remains a key challenge in the Western Balkans. You can see on the map in the middle of the slide the 7 countries that are part of the region, and Helvetas is active in all of them except of Croatia. So what are the key challenges or issues in a nutshell? So while there is economic growth on the one hand, there are often no suitable jobs for the young people. And there is this so-called mismatch or skills mismatch, meaning that on the one hand, the skills that the young people have do often not correspond to what skills the employers are looking for. This has a lot to do with missing communication, missing cooperation between the education sector and the private sector. Then additionally, job wishes often do not correspond to the reality in the labor market. And I think very particular for the region is that There is a shrinking population, so in the future, skills shortages will become a huge issue. And of course, or not of course, but outward migration towards more developed European countries is continuing, and the pandemic is yet another challenge. We need systemic changes to help unemployed people, underemployed young people to attain the skills that the market needs and to make informed career choices. And our approach as Helvetas, as an implementing partner, is that we do not want to replace existing actors in the system, but we want to work with them. So let's now hear from the colleagues how such scalable solutions can look like. We start with Albania and the topic of career guidance. And actually every person faces very important moments, transition moments in his or her life, from education to the employment area. And such moments can be when finishing high school and thinking about university, or when finishing an apprenticeship, or when graduating from university and being confronted with the labor market reality for the first time. So to start the topic of career guidance, RISI Albania, the team has produced a short video that explains the status of career guidance in Albania and shows very briefly how the project has supported different actors in establishing and improving career guidance in Albania. So we will now have a short look at the video.
Albania is one of the youngest European countries with a vibrant youth population. The country has performed a sustained economic growth over the past decade. Nevertheless, unemployment remains a challenge for young people in Albania, scoring more than 20%. Lack of jobs, mismatch between open job positions and professional profiles of young people, as well as difficulties in making informed decisions on their career path are main factors that contribute to youth unemployment issue. RISI Albania is an innovative project supported by the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation and implemented by Helvetas and Partners Albania. The project is operating in Albania since 2013 to precisely tackle youth unemployment. The project and its partners work to provide more and better employment opportunities for young women and men in Albania aged 15 to 29 years old. Let's now take a closer look into the second component on career guidance. How has the public and private career guidance provision developed lately? How does the development of different pieces of the puzzle contribute to the career guidance system in Albania? A study conducted in 2017 revealed that career guidance in Albania existed at a much simpler level only at some universities. The main causes and obstacles for the situation were identified. Limited and fragmented understanding of career guidance. No career guidance in the education system, inadequate development of career counselors with no job perspective, no reliable and comprehensive labor market information. As a response, RISI Albania designed and adopted a holistic approach to activate and support all the necessary functions in career guidance, institutional and organizational capacities of providers, development of content, development of career counselors, promotion of career guidance services. RISI Albania collaborated with the different partners ranging from universities, private providers to the municipality through tailor-made support. RISI Albania has stuck to its facilitative role. What has been achieved? 10,000 young women and men have received quality career guidance services through multidimensional and complementary interventions. Career guidance is a public good. The Career Office of the Municipality of Tirana, the capital of Albania, offers career education to pupils and career development training for young people and interested adults. The Career Portal offers a comprehensive information on various career paths. Career services for university students. The students of 3 big public universities benefit from quality career guidance services. Well-trained career counselors as the basis. 2 cohorts of career counselors graduated from the upgraded master program, and 4 international tests are standardized to the Albanian context and are available as instruments for career counseling services. Private providers come up with their solutions. The young people now enjoy an innovative one-stop shop on career, Expert Lane. Media programs that focus on career information have reached 100,000 young people. RISI Albania continues to support the further development of a functional system of career guidance focused on improving the area and quality of services so that more young Albanians make sound career decisions. Are you inspired by the work of RISI Albania and its partners? Contact us.
Great. Thank you to Elmira and her colleagues to having produced this, this video for the purpose of today's session. Now, Elmira, you are also responsible for vocational skills development at RISI Albania, besides career guidance. Can you briefly tell us what you're doing on career guidance? How is this linked to skills development?
Thank you, Katerina. As you saw from the video, we were informed about what project is doing on career guidance, and we are aware on the importance of career guidance services for the young people in Albania, especially for the actual changes in the labor market that are related with demand for labor, starting with some major factors that have affected this labor market, starting with globalization, digitalization, transition to green economy, automatization, and other, have made decision making for the young people about their education and employment path very difficult. Here is a crucial role of the career guidance. The main aim of the process is to equip the young people with the right skill to manage their careers in order to be able to make their informed career decision. But with the many new professions or occupations that are emerging nowadays, and some existing professions that are changes, young people are aim and are trying to equip skills and qualification that enable them to find a decent job, and what is more important, to activate their strength. For this purpose, it is important that the skills development system will be able to equip them with these job-related and labor market-related skills. For this purpose, at RISI Albania, we work in both directions, the development of the career guidance service and the skills, and to support also the training provider in the country to increase the relevance and inclusiveness of their offer in order to equip young people with the right skill set. The main focus remains at the skills development of skills in two strategic sectors of our economy, that is tourism and ICT, which are also the attractive sector for the young people to work in. One example of this work in ICT sector will come soon, as you will announce it and present. Thank you.
Thank you, Elmira. Thank you. Yes, you've mentioned the ICT sector and you've mentioned your collaboration with training providers. So I directly hand over to Ori, who presents one of his latest initiatives to boost the Albanian technology sector. And yes, please, Ori.
Great. Thank you, Katerina. Thanks, Elmira. I appreciate your comments on the field of vocational training and career guidance. The concept of such niche subject matter area training is not new, of course, but as the industry has evolved, we see the opportunity to build proficiency in high value-added professions through such alternative educational programs. I mentioned how I'm in Boston, actually at MIT now, but before that, I've spent almost a decade in the Bay Area, California, or Silicon Valley, if you will. And it was primarily that exposure that has informed a lot of the stances that I'll share with you here today. I deeply believe that novel training programs, such as coding bootcamps, are in today's reality a very effective way toward financial and individual freedom, thus overall upward mobility in the society. Of course, I'm partial to that statement today as the founder of betaPlan, but I'll try to be as objective as I can to show you where we as a team come from to hold such a belief. It is unquestionable that we are in the midst of the fourth industrial revolution, which is centered around technology. Like every other industrial revolution, there will be disruption, and we already see some of that. But history shows us that such disruption is necessary to get to a better equilibrium point, which is the goal of any revolution at the end of the day. However, to borrow from the economist Thomas Piketty, The principal force of convergence to such an ultimate goal is the diffusion of knowledge, which in turn depends in large part on access to training and on the acquisition of appropriate skills. At the rate at which technology is moving today, it is very hard for our traditional educational institutions to keep up. Thus, coding bootcamps, short, intensive training programs that cater specifically to what's in high demand on the market, with a curriculum that is kept up to date through continuous exposure to the industry. Such bootcamps enable our workforce to keep up with the changing labor landscape. Democratizing access to such market relevant skills, it's our mission at betaPlan. So far, we've been catering to needs in the web and the mobile development space, as well in the data science realm. We focus not only on an exhaustive set of skills that prepare the trainee to be independent on the workplace and add value since day one, but also on the career services and the soft skills necessary to land the job in the first place. A key feature that really makes a difference in the effectiveness of such training programs versus traditional educational means, which they're not substituting in any way, that has to be stated loud and clear. But the major distinction that these bootcamps offer is the exhaustive nature of the skills that they impart with regard to a narrow subject matter. For instance, our web development programs teach how to work on the visual aspect of a web application, the logic and the database behind one, as well as what it takes to launch this work out on the web. In this way, we can be sure that a graduate can take on a project start to finish and be successful. This avoids the need for extensive on-the-job training, reducing in this way, primarily for smaller companies, the hiring burden. Obviously, this is not a philosophy of our own creation. In this journey, we've partnered with Coding Dojo from Silicon Valley, one of the top training providers in the US, such that we can employ their best practices locally, which have proven successful not only in the States, but in Chile, Costa Rica, and several other countries. And by looking at the outcomes of about 100 students from Albania, we believe we are on the right track too, fostering talent of an equivalent quality to that coming out of Coding Dojo anywhere else in the world, hitting the same milestones, passing the same exams, getting employed at the same rate. Thus, we're very confident that Albanian talent can also play a very relevant role in the tech world out there. And actually, a little later, after I'm done with my speech here, Angela, one of our stellar students, will also talk about her experience with betaPlan. We expect our alumni to quickly take up the unfilled positions in the Albanian tech ecosystem and initiate the snowball effect in that way, where increased demand, increased capacity leads to more demand satisfied. And that in turn brings in even more demand and requires even more capacity from our companies. With more than 18 million new jobs expected to open up in the technology sector worldwide, this is very much within reach. Indeed, such novel ways of disseminating knowledge become critical for economically smaller countries, which are potentially less exposed to global markets right now, like Albania is. These bootcamps jumpstart our workforce in a way that it can immediately cater to a real global demand and reap benefits on par with those of a well-developed market. This does not just allow these professionals and their companies to flourish economically, but it enables them to grow as individuals too. The youth we're catering to, these individuals, can go and get a well-paid job out of a 4-month-long coding bootcamp, as our data shows. And then afterwards, choose to pursue a passion on the side, a degree in business administration, journalism, maybe art, you name it. Through such bootcamps, these young professionals have a plethora of options in front of them. They can see the path forward to becoming a much more well-rounded individual than ever before. Thus, I'm very thankful to Helvetas and RISI Albania that through their support enable us to extend our operations further in the country. I'm looking forward to a jointly increased impact in the future as well. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ori, for your inspiring words. Amazing. And I see questions are coming in the chat, so that's great. We really invite everyone to put the comments, questions, so that we can also interact through the chat and then take them up later. And you've already said that one of your graduates, Angela, is also with us today, so that's really awesome. So Angela, yes, I can see you on the video now. Hi, welcome. Maybe you can quickly tell us, how was this boot camp? What did you learn? What are you doing now?
Okay, so I will briefly introduce myself first. I am Angela Segani, 22 years old. I have studied computer science and now I'm currently working as a full stack developer. So during the pandemic, I wanted to take a step further in my professional growth. And while doing my research with a couple of my friends, we came across betaPlan. And of course, there I met Ori. After exploring a bit more about betaPlan's vision, I saw that they were what I was looking for. I mean, something that was missing here in Albania, I would say. I got introduced to very talented and of course certified instructors that made this journey way less stressful for me. An amazing asset that I found here in betaPlan was the modern learning platform and the thoroughly selected content that made a huge impact on my learning process. Also, what made a major difference for me as a developer was being introduced to the American culture, way of learning and working independently, which helped me become independent and also boost my self-confidence as well as my work ethic. Another thing I have to mention is being exposed to working in groups and thinking as a team, which made me more agile as a person. As challenging as it was, a saying that followed me throughout the entire bootcamp was strength through struggle, which made an impact on achieving the goals that I set for myself and finishing this challenge successfully. Something that will remain with me forever is the most valuable thing that I learned working with these amazing people here in betaPlan, is that we will never develop as professionals if we do not get the same standards as the US. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Angela. It was nice listening to you.
Yeah.
So we have a few minutes time to answer or take up some of the questions in the chat. For that, I kindly hand over to Sabine, who is following the chat. Exactly, please, Sabine.
Yeah. There is one question from Christian. How long does a typical bootcamp training last?
Yeah, I can take that one. Our coding bootcamp, there are various lengths, normally anywhere from 4 to 6 months, depending on the frequency and the intensity of the bootcamps. The ones we've been introducing this past year in Albania are 4 months long, part-time, 20 hours a week, such that they don't completely overwhelm the participant, but they allow them as well to continue their day job, potentially continue going to school, doing what they were doing before, but also performing this upskilling on the side. That's the format we've gone with so far.
Perfect. There's another question from Lumnia Mehmetai. Do you offer job searching skills for young people to help transition from school to labor market, like preparing CV, motivation letter, job interview, where to search for jobs?
Yeah, don't do, maybe Amira, you can take that,
we can also answer both, but thank you, Lumnia, for the question. This is a significant part of career guidance service, that is to prepare them for the transition to work and to equip them with the skills, how they can adopt their job seeking practices, how to write a CV, to prepare for an interview, to write a motivation letter. So it is an important service in the portfolio of career guidance services.
I'll just briefly add, in line with the vision of that Amira explained, the vision of Free Albania, we also at betaPlan, we have a section of the bootcamp that's focused on career services and helps the students be matched with partner companies or potentially other companies as well.
Thank you very much. The third question comes from Pius Frick. In my experience, there is also the problem of problematic recruitment practices, searching, for example, for engineers to do simple or VAT jobs. Do you see a need to work with employers to better identify or formulate their skill need? One would think that the employer knows best about the skills needed, but I'm not sure this is always the case, especially at smaller companies. What's your take, Ermira or Ori?
Okay, in each country, the skill need analysis are taking place when they analyze the skills articulated by employers and based on international standards and methods to provide realistic and reliable result and very informative result, because the skills need analysis also serve to plan to inform all the planning of VET and skills development systems. And but still, in the question, as it is highlighted, the question is still work to be done with the employers in order they themselves should articulate accurately the skills that they need and improve their vision also for the future of the work. It means on the ways of how workways, how the people will work, and also the skills that are needed for the future jobs.
And just along the same lines as Ermira highlighted, I think it's important to bring together knowledge from all sides here, as this is, especially for ICT, it's an evolving market. And that's why we went through a partnership with a well-established academy like Dojo, trying to understand what the more developed markets are looking at, what skills they are applying, while also building strong B2B partnerships in the local market, understanding our companies as well, and bringing those two sides together to be able to launch programs that are really catering to existing needs and future needs as well.
And the last question comes from Elton Kuha. I'm curious to hear from panelists if they have ways to do sustainable mid to high payment employment career pathway for youth after the training. As the perception of remote work due to pandemic increases and high paying income job is many of youth in my region strives for.
Yes.
Ori or Ermira?
Yeah, I will leave first to Ori because they are more in this field.
Yeah. I mean, it's a legitimate point. I think now more than ever, there's opportunity to, for our professionals, especially in the technology sector, to be part of this global ecosystem and cater to demand from anywhere, really. And I think that's been part of the motivation why we wanted to partner with an academy that's active all over the world, so that we have these connections. We immerse our alumni as part of this very active alumni network across the globe, such that they can foster connections that would lead to very high paying jobs for the local market. So that's definitely part of our focus.
Yes, this is an illustration of Ori from a training provider that also trace their graduates, how they are placed in their jobs, but also from of our partners that have, especially in ICT, the young people are, let's say, are placed in a very decent job, if we use this term, that and with better earnings than before of the training or before being specialized in one of the area. Above all, ICT remains one of the sector when the young people are paid higher than the other sector, and also is an increasing trend of the Albania to freelancing and outsourcing work in ICT to other countries.
Thank you very much, Ermira and Ori. Katarina, over to you.
Thank you, Sabine, and thank you very much for the audience for raising questions, for commenting. That's great to see. And we now continue with a neighboring country of Albania, that is North Macedonia, where we will watch another video, which was produced by the Education for Employment team. So let's watch this video as a start.
Lidija Jasharjet, село Горна Врановци. Јас сум 19 години. Рунтис беше на посета кај нашето село и оттаму се пријавив и се заинтересирав за работа. Барам работа на друго место и сум многу задоволна од оваа работа. Сакам да напредувам. Këto jam prej një vjet, te Akademia Leontić. Këtu kam mësu për make-upin, hairdresser edhe për thonjt. Kam mësu se jaja Kemalin dhe ekonomi biznes shtur, por nuk ka shumë student e sosin, por nuk mund të qenë vende pune. Kjo më pëlqen.
овозможува голема екзистенција. Јас за мене многу сум задоволен од бизнисот. Мислам, ептен добро работиме. Ако се посветиш на него, стварно можеш многу добро да екзистираш во Македонија. Сам на себе сум мој човек, работам по 12 сата на ден и супер.
Среќен сум со Штана Шанкери што работам тука во Андрела. Некои пријатели доаѓаат и се радуваат како ме препознаат ќе ме видат на Шанкери.
Берат Јакупи, доаѓам од Скопје и работам цела година тука. Шанкер, моите работни одврски се да давам кафиња, да средувам физидери, да нарачувам роби и она тоа. Многу сум задоволен, мрежа што ми дава да работам тука.
Се привел пак на облака зашто ми даде шанса основна да се исполнам да бидам пак Шанкер.
So this video gave us a bit of an insight of how young people are undergoing training and later finding employment in North Macedonia, thanks to the E4E project. So there could be plenty of other topics or issues that we could showcase from the E4E project on how they support, state and public actors in improving the vocational education training system in North Macedonia. But for today, we want to highlight or share with you one particular mechanism, and that is the pay for performance mechanism. And I now hand over to Mladen from the Ministry of Labor and Nadira from the E4E project team to tell us how this pay for performance mechanism for skills development actually works and how come that the ministry has taken over this mechanism. Please.
Nadira, I shall start.
Yes, but I would ask Cole to show the slide.
Okay, I will firstly give you a short introduction for the youth unemployment position in Macedonia. For example, I can make a comparison from 2017 till now, the second quarter of 2021. In 2017, the youth unemployment rate 15 to 29 was 39%, and in the second quarter of 2021 is the 28%, which is a huge decrease for a few years, from approximately 4 years. That is because of strengthening the policies that tackling youth unemployment. Firstly, we increased the total amount of financial assets for the employment active labor market measures, which that we create on annual basis. And they are all consist in one document, operative document called Operational Plan for Active Labor Market Measures and Services on the Labor Market. The active labor market measures are separated into two groups. One group of the active labor market measures is give opportunity to youth unemployed people direct employment. That is by the self-employment by grant and subsidizing the wage for a certain period of time, and the rest of the period, for example, if you give the subsidized for a wage for 12 months, the obligation for the employers is to keep them as employed that person next 18 months. And the total idea was 30, for example, 30 months or the sustainability in the employment. What was the interesting in the trainings? The trainings gives opportunity to all vulnerable groups, not only for youth, but also to Roma, to people with disabilities, increasing their employability by taking some various type of trainings on real working conditions. And one of the most attractive trainings that E4E project proposed to be a piloting in 2019 was the performance training for the regarding to the requirements from the employers, and it was what was the meaning of the measure. The meaning of the measure is that to stimulate employers and the providers of training providers to give quality trainings to the unemployed persons, because they were obliged to employ certain percentage of successfully trained people after the finishing of trainings, and to employ. Because of that, there was three phases of paying the training providers, and I can give now word to Nadira, maybe to employ.
Thank you, Mladen. We can proceed with the next slide, please. So in 2018 and 2019, the Helvetas project Education for Employment in North Macedonia opened a series of calls for training providers to apply for the so-called Opportunity Fund. So first, the training providers had to establish a cooperation with at least one employer that needed labor force. Based on the skills needed by this employer, then the training providers had to design the training offer. The employer, on the other hand, was obliged to offer gainful employment to most of the trainees. The second criteria was that the training providers had to ensure access to unemployed youth, women, Roma, people with disabilities, and other groups left behind in the training. Now in this scheme, I can briefly explain how the pay-for-performance mechanism works through an example, while this mechanism was piloted by E4E. So you can see that here we have a training provider that was eligible for the fund. The total budget for the training is 2,500 euros. So this is a budget that covers all the costs. The project covered 80% of this cost, meaning 10,000 euros, while the employer or the trainee had to cover the remaining 20%. Then the project paid its part in 3 installments based on the performance of the training provider. So on your right side, you can see that the first installment of 30% was paid before the start of the training. The 35% was paid after the successful completion of the training, while the remaining 35% were paid only after the training provider submitted proof that the trainees have been employed. So this is a way how the training provider was stimulated to think about the market orientation of its offer, and also to lead to the gainful employment of the trainees. Now I give the floor back to Mladen to explain what the Ministry of Labor took over from this pilot and what are the benefits of the pay-for-performance mechanism.
Mladen, so first you can go one slide further, please. Next slide.
Okay.
And then, yes, I hand over to you, Mladen. Thanks.
There are more benefits from the pay-per-performance mechanism. Like first, the training providers are more motivated to cooperate with the companies, increase the market orientation of their offer due to the performance-based contracts and the related financial incentives. And also, what is other interesting in our country, we stimulate companies to be registered in the same way as the training providers. We do it through the Ministry of Education and Science, and in the same time they can be also providers of the trainings and companies. That is one of the benefits that we learned from this pilot measuring in the 2019. Also, the companies secure the skills shortage efficiently and with high quality, because the need for the unemployed person with the specific skills are increasing, and they need to find people that in a short time can be quality trained and ready for the employment. I must mention also that that piloting measure that was implemented leading by the E4E project gives fantastic results from the 255 planned people, unemployed people to be involved in that measure. The result was 454 people involved in the measure, and at least 50% of them employed in the companies. That the increased number because of the good allocation of funds that E4E project have for that pilot measure. And also, what is the other benefit from implementing that pilot measure? We tried to implement the similar criteria in other active labor market that consists annual operational plan for employment. For example, for training for advanced digital IT skills, which is now attractive, we encourage companies to participate in the total amount per training because they are much expensive. 51% to pay training to be paid by the company, and 49% by the state. Also, in the other measures that are training oriented, like training for the specific requirements by the employers, we give also some criteria similar to this measure. For example, percentage of participatory in the financing of the training should be by the company or the training provider, and some percentage to be financed by the state budget. So we will try in the 2022 to increase the active labor market measures that will be adopted by this new model. Percentage paid by the company or the training providers, and from the state budget.
Thank you, Mladen, and thank you, Nadire, for explaining how this mechanism works and how you're constantly readapting it and introducing it to also other measures too. I can see that there are many questions, or a few questions coming up in the chat. So I again hand over to Sabine, please.
Yes, we have 3 questions from 2 people. So the first one from Elton. Any particular challenge of the pay per performance model, maybe due to a regulatory issue of human labor and work challenge coordination, especially in the pandemic? So that's one question.
Okay.
Yeah. Nadira or Mladen?
I think Mladen is the right one to answer this.
Maybe I can answer. We adopted measures that lead to training and we include the new target group, the people who lose their jobs due to the pandemic COVID-19. And they have opportunity, for example, and they have they were more stimulated companies to employ, to train, or to retrain the people who lose their job due to the pandemic, and to be trained for the new attractive skills that are demanded on the labor market. So we started immediately in 2020 with the adoption of part of the active labor market measures that can be included that group, the people who lose their jobs due to the pandemic.
Thank you very much, Mladen. Nadira, would you like to add something?
No, I think that it was pretty much well summarized by Mladen.
And the second question from Elton is, what type of skills are suitable for the different able people? He put it in parentheses, not wanting to use the term disability often, as it sounds a bit discriminatory?
No, I must mention that all of the occupations that are offered for the trainings are not strictly to the people with disabilities. We don't mention in the offer of each of the measures that these trainings are especially to the people of disabilities, but all of the unemployed people, vulnerable people. We trained vulnerable people, especially we started with the long-term unemployed people, and the long-term unemployed people almost take all of the other subgroups. For example, people with disabilities, Roma, youth unemployment people, 15 to 29. And we started when we explained to the unemployed people when they're interested for some of the measures, we explained that is all of the measures is for long-term unemployed people. And long-term unemployed people in our criteria is the people who are unemployed more than 1 year. So we don't strictly mention people with disabilities, not to discriminate.
Thank you, Mladen. Nadira?
I can also add something from the perspective of our project. So when we work with, when we target people with disabilities, I would agree that this also sounds a bit discriminatory, but this is the labeling that we have currently in the project. So we do not offer for them offers that are general. So to say that this group of people with disabilities will be part of this training. What we do push forward mainly is this individual approach. So we had one partner called Handimak in Tetovo, which is one city of North Macedonia. And we supported this partner so that he was offering individual trainings to people with disabilities based on the skills and the potentials that they already have. So these people were mainly ending in sectors that are related to the skills that they have. So we had the person that opened a shop in his village. We had another person who opened a bookshop also in his neighborhood. We had a few that became part of the administration of the country. And also with another partner that was more specialized to offer skills to people with disabilities in the IT sectors. We supported few people with disabilities so that they could develop further their skills in the IT sector and become self-employed or employed in a company of the sector.
Thank you very much. The second, there's a question from Adashima. What type of companies are the partner companies? Did you have any eligibility criteria?
No, we don't have. Each of the company can apply for the trainings if it's interested for some kind of trainings. And also, as I mentioned before, we give them opportunity to be registered at the same time, as well as not only as a company but as a training provider. So we don't have some eligibility criteria for the companies. Every company is okay to apply for the training programs.
And there's a question from Pius Frick. How to avoid too narrowly tailored skill sets so that the graduate can change employer?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. How to avoid too narrowly tailored skill sets so that the graduate can change employer? Or maybe if we can ask Pius to clarify a bit the question.
I think I understand the question. It's more like how to make sure that we do not develop skills of people that would fit only to the specific needs of one particular company. And this is very often a dilemma that we have in the project, because when we have one company applying for a training that would develop skills to the needs of these companies, then usually these are very specific needs, skills for that company. And what we usually do, we suggest to the training provider so that they have a part, which is usually this theoretical part, which is to be more general, so that at least it's on sector level or professional level. And the practical part, which happens in company, is usually specific. But on the other side, we still believe that even those specific skills that they develop practically can still be transferable if they are adapted to a new employer from that sector.
Pius wrote in the chat saying thanks. That is exactly the point. Thank you very much, Mladen and Nadira. Katarina, over to you.
Thank you, Sabine. And now we are very curious actually to learn from the audience whether you think that this mechanism that we just presented, the pay for performance mechanism, can also be applicable in your context. And for that, we again have a poll, which is very straightforward. So do you think that the pay for performance mechanism is applicable in your context? Yes, no, maybe. And feel free to also use the chat in order to give a more comprehensive answer than simply yes, no, maybe. So let's see, we have a majority who thinks that yes, this mechanism is applicable, and some think maybe, possibly. And I read in the chat that yes, it depends also very much on the motivation between stakeholders, if they have a common shared vision. Thank you for this comment. So let's still wait a few seconds, as not everyone has replied yet. Yeah, I think it remains stable, about 70% thinking that this is a mechanism that could also work in their context. And I now would like to hand over to Nadire. Maybe you can start by pointing out for those who think that this mechanism might work, what would be your advice now from a project perspective, how to implement this mechanism?
Thank you, Katerina. So in terms of the results of the poll, I would comment that they are to the point. We also agree that this mechanism can be scaled up in other countries. But I have to emphasize that at Helvetas, we usually nourish this belief that practices that have proven to be successful in other contexts can also have great inspirational power for other countries and for us as well. But very often we explore this kind of practices, get in touch with people that have been directly part of them, and analyze which elements of it can be beneficial and worth considering for our context. We are fully aware that copy-pasting good practices from one to another context is not the way to go forward, but adapting their success elements to the context in which we operate is extremely useful. So in relation to your questions that what can other projects or other countries do in this regard, I would say that the first thing that they should do is to consider firstly the sustainability of this pay for performance mechanism, because one thing is to pilot it as a project and totally another thing, and that should be in fact the goal, is to make it sustainable so that it remains there even when the project is gone. And for this purpose, they should analyze all the relevant system actors to see what are their capacities, which is their willingness, and especially which are their incentives, because based on these incentives, then they can play with a pay for performance mechanism. The pay part shouldn't always be translated into financial means. It depends what the analysis will show. then the project should also identify which are those crucial system partners with whom they should partner with. And so that the ownership of the mechanism, they then remain with these partners in the future. So these are exactly the ones with whom the project should work from the very beginning and make them aware about the benefits. So in this way, the evidence-based advocacy is also pushed forward. And once the partner is willing to take the mechanism under its ownership, we also think that the project shouldn't stop with its support, but should support the partner at least for the first year of the implementation until it makes sure that the mechanism is sustainable and they can perform it independently.
Great, Nadira, that you've mentioned sustainability. That actually leads me to the overall topic. Now we are already in the panel discussion of how can we improve vocational skills development and career guidance in a systemic and in a sustainable way. And I now would invite also the audience to put their questions in the chat so that Sabine can also take them up. So we have Ori, we have Mladen, we have Emira, and we have Nadire who presented and are now open to respond to your questions. Maybe I start with a first question also to Ori. Based on your experience, what is your advice to young entrepreneurs like you who would like to invest in high quality trainings?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Katrina. I think it's very important to keep in mind when launching such like new journeys that working hard to reinvent the wheel is not necessarily the smart way to go about it. There are plenty of more developed markets out there that have gone through similar struggles, and even if they haven't solved the struggles, they have at least figured out a number of ways that don't work or some that partially work potentially. So it's worth investing the time, learning from what others have done, synthesizing that knowledge in the local context, and go from there and devising a feasible solution to the problem you're trying to tackle. I think mastering what others have uncovered already and taking that as a starting point to think about the box, thinking out of the box, is a tool that every entrepreneur should have in his or her toolkit. It will save a lot of time down the line.
Thank you, Ori. Great. I continue with a question to Ermira. What are good ways, to connect skills development and career guidance, and keeping in mind that we want to really connect, what employers need and what young people are looking for?
I can answer.
And as pointed out by Sabine, please feel free to the audience to put your questions. We now have like maybe 10 minutes to take up your questions and share them with the panelists.
I can answer shortly to your question, Katerina, and I can say that only effective career guidance service and a labor market-oriented vocational skills development system can best connect employers and young people needs. For these three conditions should be realized. First is quality of the career guidance service, that this will be assured through customized services and qualitative service to different needs of the various target groups with qualified professionals and quality tools, and what is more important is a timely and impartial information of labor market. And here the second condition is that engagement of the employers is key for both to enrich career guidance services and to increase the relevance of the educational and training offer. This engagement of the employer help young people to expose better to the world of working and to understand what is expected from the world of work. So And this direct exposure can also help them to equip with the skills that are required in the labor market. And the third condition is continual improvement of the services and of the system, and this can be done informed by evidence on different tools that are in place to monitor satisfaction of the users.
Thank you, Ermira. And I see Sabine, exactly. Yes, there are questions coming in.
Yeah.
Great.
There are two questions, one from Elton. What's the future initiative moving forward around career upskilling initiative for the pay per performance? And his comment is maybe something further or government sector or non-government community to be more inclusive in approach. Elmira or Mladen or Nadira?
So since this is about the pay for performance mechanism, from the perspective of the project, I would answer that our key goal was the sustainability of the pay for performance mechanism, and having in mind that the Ministry of Labor in our context is the key system actor which organizes and also offers the active labor market measures, we partnered with them. And in this sense, we have achieved our goal. And for the future, we as a project would be satisfied enough if the Ministry of Labor continues to have this mechanism applied to its measures, also having in mind the inclusive element, which is already there. So as Mladen described before, the measures are quite inclusive. So they, as a ministry, try to do a lot in order to outreach to all vulnerable groups, especially those that the analysis have shown that are usually left out of the labor markets. And these are, on the first place, youth, then women, Roma, people with disabilities, people from the rural areas, and also other cities that are outside of the capital of Skopje.
Thank you very much, Nadira. There's another question from Lumnia Mehmetai. I saw from the video of Reach Albania about career education in Albania, which is very important. Is there any initiative to start embedding career education in schools? The same question for Macedonia.
Okay, thank you, Lumni, for your question. Yes, it is an initiative that is underway to embed career guidance services to the schools, let's say to the pre-university education. As you saw from the video, we have established just 1 year ago an open career guidance center under the municipality of Tirana, which is offering a range of service for career guidance. And one of the services that they are preparing to offer very soon is just to cooperate with the schools in order to offer some hours, let's say, or some discussion with the pupils and guidance about career educations. It will start through a regulated agreement between Municipality of Tirana and the Ministry of Education in Albania. And once this agreement is in place, all the modalities are prepared to offer these career guidance services in education system. Of course, we will start with some piloting school to try the materials and all the instruments and the modalities that we'll prepare, and then we'll be up to the Ministry of Education to extend it widely in the education system.
Maybe Nadira, do you have something to add, or Mladen? Since the question same applies for North Macedonia.
Yes, I can add that following the developments in Albania, mainly through RISI Albania, I can say that we in North Macedonia are still not on that level. So career guidance as a topic or as an initiative is still not that much developed here. There were in the past initiatives of different donors and different projects here and there, but still we do not have any sustainable mechanism which is there so that it offers to youth in their primary or secondary education how to proceed with their career development in the future. But the project has indirectly done, the project I work for until now, is to promote the vocational education and training as a viable career option for the youth in the context of North Macedonia, since here the current trend is that youth usually goes to gymnasium and then continues with university degree, usually in social sciences. And our analysis have shown that it's not what is demanded in the labor market. So what we try to do, in fact, is somehow to steer that the choices of the youth are in accordance with the demands in the labor market.
I must, excuse me, I must mention other things that Ministry of Education and Science, as I know, they have career centers in the secondary schools, but my opinion is that they should have career centers in the primary schools, because I think my opinion is that it's too late when they have career centers in the secondary schools, especially in the secondary schools which are not gymnasium. Also, I must mention that career guidance is one of the regular services that offer agency for employment, but it's not on the satisfactory level. That is not quality developed, that type of service. And my opinion is that firstly, the Ministry of Education should have career centers in the primary schools, and they should start from the latest 2 years from the finishing the primary schools. And also we can try to find some outsourcing to give quality career guidance service to the unemployment people. But that is only my opinion.
Thank you very much, Mladen. There's another question from Patlinda Mujko. What kind of mechanism or approach do projects use to ensure internal quality control of training providers?
If I can
maybe
answer, yeah.
Maybe Ore, would you like to add something, or?
Oh, I also can answer something for this question.
Oh, sure. Yes.
Go ahead.
Then Ori, please. At us at RISI, the main indicator is employment of the graduates after the training. This is the best indicator for the quality and the relevance of the training, and in particular, their employment in the field that they have been trained or studied in.
Yeah, and along the same lines, we gather data about that, to see where our graduates end up, what kind of positions they get when they enter the industry, potentially what salary distribution they land at, and how fast they get employed. I think our goal is to have 90% employment rate within 6 months of graduation, and we're very close to that at this point. So, but yeah, to answer the question, there are definitely mechanisms, and we try to improve on those to really reflect how successful the trainings are.
Thank you very much, Ori, and the rest of the panelists. Katarina, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you to the panelists. And as Ermira and Ori just stressed out, employment after the training as the key quality factor that again links to our overall topic of SDG 8 and decent work for all. We now come towards the end of our live session, and for this I would like to invite our colleague Emilia from the Economy program to sum up. So over to you. What are your key takeaways? How can we scale up these practices that we learned today in other countries?
Thank you, Katarina. So I have the honor to present the key takeaways from these insightful presentations and fruitful discussions. And I must say, I don't know how short I can be, because there was quite a lot that was presented and discussed, which was very useful for us to learn from. So as we have heard, youth unemployment really remains a major concern, not only for the Western Balkan countries, but for many other countries as well. It has become even more evident that during this pandemic period, systemic changes are needed to help unemployed and underemployed youth attain skills that align with the market demand. It is also even more evident that young people need support, like the career guidance services, to make informed decisions about their education and career choices. But also, on the other hand, businesses need to be supported, but also involved in creating decent jobs. From the presentations, we have heard some great examples and sustainable and scalable results, such as paying for performance and offering career guidance. The RISI Albania project has emphasized the importance a career guidance can play in the life of the young people. This was especially evident for the process of school to work transition, but also from one education level to another. They have supported a holistic approach for the establishment of a career guidance system, where proven career counseling structures on municipal, university, and private intermediaries were deployed. And here comes the point of Pius about the involvement of the private sector, which is of a crucial importance, not just for them, but also to articulate their needs and the required skills, but also to support the development of the curricula based on the labor market demand. So the private sector indeed plays a very crucial role here. Going to the stories of Ori as a young entrepreneur and Angela are so inspiring and just show the impact such support can have on the young people. Through the boot camps, Ori has managed to provide market-relevant skills to the young people in Albania, like Angela, according to the international standards, enabling them access to platforms and learning instruments. And it was good to see that they have a tracing system in place to monitor the progress of the students. We have also learned how the Education for Employment in Macedonia project has piloted and how the Ministry of Labor has taken up the pay for performance mechanism. This was done by incentivizing training providers through the presented payment installments to ensure close collaboration with the private sector in developing and delivering this demand-driven training, ensuring employment of a significant number of the trainees after completion of the training. The payment mechanism proved very successful in ensuring market responsiveness, inclusion of marginalized groups, boosting overall trainee outcomes and yielding higher employment results. To ensure sustainability of this scheme, the project supported the Ministry of Labor to incorporate it into the employment measures offered through the operational plan of the Employment Service Agency. And it was good to hear that the ministry has also adopted a model to upskill or retrain those that have lost their job due to the pandemic. And it's glad to see that many of you also believe that this mechanism can be applicable in your context. Allow me to say a few words on the importance of scalability of these initiatives. As we have heard, trust, mutual collaboration, joint identification of priority areas between all key stakeholders in the ecosystem is of crucial importance. It enables institutionalization of the initiatives and ensures transfer of ownership. Only when there is market uptake, we can talk about sustainability and achievement of the sustainable development goals in general. Scaling up, on the other hand, can incorporate different types of strategies, tools, and approaches, but starting with promotion, expanding, adapting, and sustaining successful initiatives, best practices as this one, and lessons learned is a good approach towards scaling up. And I hope today's presentations and discussions will inspire other projects or governments to take these successful models and adapt them to their own context. And to conclude, elevating the voice of youth and their inclusion in measures and decisions related to education and employment, continued work on improving the economic and inclusive opportunities for youth, and strengthening the collaboration between the education providers and the private sector is what will make or break these 21st century solutions. And this can only be attained through a collaborative effort of all stakeholders on how best to unlock potential opportunities for education, employment, and well-being of the youth. This is hopefully a good summary of the discussions we had today. So, Katerina?
Yes, a very good summary, a very comprehensive summary. Thank you, Emilia. Thank you. And I would also like to thank you, Making Sense International and the organizers of the GYEO 2030 for having us today for this live session. Helvetas is eager to stay on board for this initiative also in the coming month and thereby contribute to jointly achieving SDG 8 and in a way that the voice of the young people is in the center. I would like to very much thank you, Ori and Mladen, as our partners to co-organizing this session with us. That's really great and we appreciate overall collaborating with you. And also Angela, that you joined today and shared your story. And of course, a big thank you to the colleagues, Emilia, Sabine, Ermira, and Nadire. So I hand over back to you, Matthew, for closing today's session.
Great. Thank you to Katarina for your moderation. Such an interesting presentation discussion with our terrific speakers, as you just mentioned, Ermira, Ori, and student Angela, Mladen, Nadire, and Emily has wrap up as well. And for the great questions from today's audience, it was nice to see how the team reinforced the important role of career guidance in Albania and the pay for performance mechanisms in North Macedonia, and how they're increasing youth employment so young people can get and keep jobs. It's great to hear how Mladen, from a government perspective, talked about how they're adopting this approach to improve employment for youth in North Macedonia. So I think it's great to see that and the systemic work happening there. And as we elevate youth voice, I personally appreciated hearing from Angela's Albanian skills building experience during the pandemic with betaPlan coding boot camps and seeing in that video the North Macedonian umbrella restaurant training for differently abled youth. So a lot packed into this hour and a half. So I want to thank everyone for that. Maybe as we go to the slides, I encourage you to join us for upcoming sessions. We've got a lot coming up. I put a link in the chat that you may have seen. We've got our final lead GYEO solution session next Tuesday, and that will be presenting around financing models in a few countries in Africa and Latin America, how we're helping to increase youth access to finance and employment through those models. Visit us online through that link I shared. You can register there for other webinars over the next couple of weeks. And we will also be sharing these and past solution session recordings will all be posted on our website. So I think lastly, just for more details, again, the website, go to the next slide here, you see our website, gyeo2030.org. There's an events tab where you can find all the information. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your days, your afternoons and evenings, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.